Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the session, Deep Sleep, How to Invite Deep Rest. My name is Wendy, and I'm the room host, so if you have any concerns or questions during the presentation, I will be sitting back by that door back there, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Couple things we're going to let you know is that the session is being recorded. We ask that everybody listens with an open mind, and we're here to learn. The presenter would like you to hold questions for the question and answer at the end. Also, just so that you know, we're going to dim the lights in the second part of the session, so don't be alarmed if it won't get really dark, but it will get a little darker. Although confidentiality cannot be guaranteed, we do ask that you not repeat any personal information that is shared. Some subjects can contain sensitive information, and if anybody needs any extra assistance or wants to access a counseling professional for a short check-in, we have availability on site. Signal me, the room host, or stop by the information table near the main doors in the atrium. The nearest restroom is right behind here, so if you go out the back doors, you can see it pretty easily. Let's see. There is an evaluation form. It's a two-sided green sheet that's inserted in your program, and please fill out the front for the keynote and session 1 and the back for session 2 and the closing. This is a really important tool for us on the planning committee, so we know what sessions you liked and which speakers to bring back and what you'd like to see in the future. And besides that, if you turn it in, it enters you for a drawing for books from today's presenters. So that's a win. I'd like to introduce our speaker. This is Dr. Hlava. She's a seasoned professional in the fields of transpersonal psychology and self-actualization with over 20 years of experience, study, and practice. As a core faculty at Sophia University and a Ph.D. holder from the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, Dr. Hlava's work is grounded in transformative learning and embodiment practices. With a background in clinical mental health counseling and supervision, she has certifications as a meditation instructor, an Ayurveda wellness counselor, a yoga teacher, a Reiki practitioner, and an intrinsic coach. Dr. Hlava's unique approach blends Western psychology with Eastern wisdom traditions, offering a comprehensive path towards personal growth and overall well-being through her transformative workshops and specialized training sessions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Aww. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So welcome to, it's loud, For the Love of Sleep, the Art of Deep Rest. And so to begin, we're going to pause. Put your feet on the ground if that's available to you. And we're going to sigh together for a moment. So I invite you to, if it feels okay, close your eyes. If not, no worries. But take a full breath in and just notice how that feels. We'll do 2 more like that together. Just inhale and a big ah. One more. Sleep. You have just done your first sleep practice. We'll talk more about why that was part of the whole process. What we're going to do today is we're going to share some information. We're going to talk a little bit about some common sleep challenges and a few strategies, and really focus on doing a practice together that helps bring all this together. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. So I'm going to go through a little bit of information kind of quickly in the beginning, mostly because the information isn't the most important thing when we think about sleep. So why do we need sleep? Well, we have some theories, right? Does anyone have a general idea? I'll invite like 2 shout-outs. Why do we need sleep?
Recharge our body.
Yeah, recharge the body.
Recharge the brain.
Recharge the brain. You guys are brilliant. Yes, you guys are brilliant. So when we're not getting enough sleep, sleep deprivation, the CDC actually announced in 2019, 2018, that sleep deprivation is an epidemic in the United States, an epidemic. That's pretty significant, right? They're saying that the majority of people in our Western culture are struggling with sleep deprivation. And when we're deprived of sleep, here's a short list of things that happen. Our judgment gets impaired, our moods shift, we don't think as clearly, our memory shifts, our libido drops, our skin ages more, we lose our balance. And interestingly enough, we gain weight. It actually affects our digestion and how our body moves. Nutrition. There's actually, when we're not getting enough sleep, 2 hormones start getting shifted and get a little bit out of balance and out of whack. One of them, the one that tells us that we're full, stops. And I don't know how to pronounce that one very well, but it's G-H-E. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then leptin is the other that lets us know that we're satiated. So if we're not getting enough sleep, it actually messes with our ability to understand our own digestive process, to understand what our body needs. That's pretty significant. When we're not able to tune into our body's needs, other things start also faltering. The CDC also identified some, what they refer to as diseases of sleep deprivation. And these aren't saying that sleep causes these, but that when we're not getting enough sleep, we're priming the condition in our body for these diseases or illnesses or imbalances to show up. This isn't surprising if we think about depression and anxiety, because we know, right, if we're not getting enough sleep, we might feel a little bit, well, low. We might feel a little bit more irritable. Has anyone experienced any of those things when you're not sleeping well? Show of hands. Yeah. Some of this is common sense, right? Like, wow, when I'm not sleeping well, these are things that start to fall out of balance for me. Hypertension, we feel more tension. We feel more contraction in the body. Our memory gets a little wonky, sorry about that. And we start to feel a little bit not able to be as engaged in our life in the way that we would like. In addition to this, immune deficiency is another factor. When we're not getting enough sleep, our body's immune response falters. And in the last few years, I mean, every decade we have more and more immune deficiency disorders. Right now they're identifying over 200. This is the most common list. These are diseases of immune deficiency. So when we're not getting enough sleep, we're creating the conditions in our body for these to show up. And yes, allergies are part of this. Seasonal allergies even increase when we're not getting the quality of rest that we need. So we can ask, like, why? What happens when we're sleeping that is so important? Well, when we're sleeping, here's a short list of some of the cool things that the body does, because the human body is amazing. It's fascinating. And when we're asleep and we think we're doing nothing, we're doing this. The body's repairing its cells. Our heart actually rests. The blood moves through the system more easily. Our tissues repair, protein synthesize. Our brain actually goes through this process of neural pruning. So it sort of filters out this information we don't need and really absorbs the stuff that we do. We have dreams, which help us process and synthesize all the events of our day. We need to digest our emotions and experiences, and we do that super effectively when we're sleeping. We need sleep. Yet, there are some really common sleep challenges. It's likely you've experienced one or several of these, and if you haven't, it's more than likely you know somebody who has. Would you agree with that? So seeing some head nods, yep. So racing thoughts, worry, or fear, has anyone experienced that, where your thoughts just get really loud at night? I'm not the only one, yeah? Like, our thoughts get louder at night when we lay down. And there's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about that. But grinding teeth, it's trickiness of falling asleep, and also this waking up around 2 to 3 a.m. Has anyone experienced that very specifically? Yeah, 2 to 3, it's like this magic hour for waking up, where suddenly we get this resurgence of, oh, I gotta wake up, or I need to eliminate and use the restroom. 2 to 3 a.m. is sort of this magic hour for this. Part of what we think about is like, why is sleep so, if it's so important, why do we struggle? Has anyone wondered this question? This is so important. Why do we struggle? Well, it actually has very little to do with our sleep. It's more about our lifestyle. Insomnia has very little to do with what we're doing in our sleep itself or the sleep process itself, but in our lifestyle, the things that we're doing throughout the day. In order to sleep well, we need to be aware of our sleep throughout the day and support our body. So that's what we're really going to be focusing on today, is what that process looks like, how we can shift gears to be more in our bodies, to allow a deeper experience of rest. This was in my inbox this morning, no joke. I checked email, I was like, well, that's pretty appropriate for what I'm talking about today, so I added it to my PowerPoint. The secret to going bed on time is probably somewhere on the internet. I must keep looking. This comes from Nathan Pyle, who's a hilarious cartoonist, if anyone's interested. His stuff's online all over the place. Very funny, but this is part of our issue, right? We get really hooked on, like, I gotta find the answer, and next thing you know, we're absorbed in something on a screen. Whether it's on our phone, whether it's on the television, whether it's on the computer, whether it's responding to an email, whether it's then having done that for so long, we get up and then that's all we're thinking about. We're thinking about the last thing. We're wondering, should I get back on there and try and find that answer? We're always looking out there for something. Humans are the only living species that will intentionally deprive itself of sleep. We're it. Look at all of nature. We're the only ones who are like, you know what? I'm going to pass on sleep because Netflix. I'm going to pass on sleep because laundry. I'm going to pass on sleep because next chapter in the book I'm reading. Whatever it is, we make choices. And we make choices throughout the day that will support us in staying awake rather than going to sleep. And we do this unintentionally, sometimes very intentionally. But we're the only ones who do it, which I think is actually very interesting. We need sleep. Circadian rhythms, and this term circadian rhythms is basically saying there's a 24-hour cycle of waking and sleepfulness in the body, right? 24 hours in a day. And part of that time we spend awake, doing things, and part of that time we need to rest. As you guys shouted out earlier, we need to recharge the body, we need to recharge the brain, we need to re-energize our whole system. We need to detoxify, we need to digest all the stuff that we've gone through in the day, and we need roughly 8 hours to do that as adults. Teenagers need about 9 to 10 hours. How many teenagers do you think are getting 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night? Yeah. This is part of our bigger challenge as a modern society, I suppose. We need roughly 8 hours of sleep, and the most effective sleep of that comes between 10 and 2. So think about the cycle of the day. As human beings in a human body, our physiology mirrors nature. We have the same thing. We sleep at night, we wake during the day. We are not nocturnal beings by design. We have this rhythm to us. And at the peak of the day, we have the peak of our energy, and the peak of the night is when our body is doing all that great detoxifying. That's that 10 to 2 a.m., that middle of the night. That's when we need the most sleep because our whole system is primed to do all that stuff that was on that earlier slide. The detoxifying, the rejuvenation, the cellular repair, all that stuff. If we're awake past 10, has anyone had that like second wind around 10:15 p.m. where you're really tired and suddenly you're like, I could write a novel. Like, that's that 10 p.m. Like, we get this surge of energy. Ideally, we want that energy to be in the process of detoxifying and rejuvenating the body. Ideally, we want that to happen in our sleep system, in our sleep physiology, rather than keeping us awake, being in a productive energy, because that productive energy is ultimately depriving us of energy the following day. We're just not going to have it the next day. The quality of our sleep is what we're after. When we're talking about deep rest, it's not just saying, I'm going to lay in bed for 10 hours. It's, I'm going to be asleep fairly quickly, within roughly 30 minutes of laying in bed. the majority of the time that I'm in bed is going to be in the process of receiving that rest. And waking not more than once a night. It's not uncommon to wake up at least once in the night. That's not an uncommon thing. That's not necessarily problematic, especially if you're able to fall back asleep within 10 minutes roughly. That's going to be okay. Ideally, we know we've had good quality rest when we wake up feeling energized. When you wake up and say, yeah, you're shaking your head, you're like, that doesn't happen. That's how we know we've had really good sleep, when we wake up with a quality of well-being in the body. And Sophie talked about that a little bit earlier this morning in the intro, right? This idea of well-being in the body. When we wake up feeling rested and clear, we know that we've done a good job inviting rest into our system. So how do we do that? That's really what we're here to talk about today, more than all this other info. We do this by creating daily rhythms that support that biological rhythm, that help us support the natural rhythm of the day. We nurture our digestive system so that we're digesting well, not just the food that we eat, but the emotions and the experiences of our day. We need to be able to process and assimilate all of it. And in order to do that, we need to create some space and we need to create some rhythm. So this is less about adding stuff into your day than it might be about just shuffling some things around. So as we go through this list of stuff, I'm going to tell you right now, please do not think you have to do all of it. Don't think you have to make all these great big changes. But see if there's one thing that we go through today that you're like, yeah, I'd like to play with that a little bit. I'd like to experiment with that a little bit. And know that any change that you make is going to take some time for your body to integrate. So even if you do it 1 or 2 days and you're not noticing a huge shift in the quality of your sleep, try it for about a week. It takes about a week for the rhythms to move through the body. So the first thing is moving the body. We need to move our body, and most of us are a little more sedentary now than we were, say, 30 years ago. Would you guys agree with that as a general statement? Seeing some head nods. Like we've gotten into this posture. Right? This or this is a lot of what we do. And so we spend a lot of time in this posture, and our bodies are designed for movement. So we need to move energy around the body, and if we do that earlier in the morning, we create energy in the body that can then get used throughout the day, so we are actually tired at night. We want our body to feel a little bit of fatigue before bed. And this movement in the morning, it doesn't have to be like an hour at the gym. So I'm going to invite you, if you feel like practicing and playing with me for a moment, I'll invite you to just stand up and place your arms up. Awesome. Sit down. And if you want to do that 2 more times. Yep. So only if it feels good in your body. If it doesn't, feel free to pass. What do you notice in your body? What's shifted? Your energy, your heart rate went up a little bit, right? That's all we need to do is increase the heart rate just a little bit. And we can do that by even just simply doing that. Exactly. It doesn't take much. Even just shaking the arms out. Sometimes what I refer to, my husband laughs because we do what I refer to as the kitchen dance party. I don't always have a lot of time for big exercise in the morning, so it's while we're making breakfast, it's a little bit of movement in the kitchen, just while like doing something. The kitchen dance party. Put on some music, let yourself move, increase the heart rate just a little bit. If you do that a few times throughout the day, you'll be more tired at night. Your body will be more primed for sleep. So energizing morning routine, again, doesn't have to be going to the gym. It can be if you love that and it works for you, awesome. If not, weave this into what you're already doing. Don't feel like you have to add in a big gym membership. But let yourself move. Another thing is even just, go ahead and if you feel like just like rubbing your arms up and down. What do you notice in your energy even as you're doing that a little bit? Warms you up. This moves our energy, it activates the body. So you can even do that in bed before you get out of bed. It's one of my favorite morning practices, is just rubbing the arms, rubbing the legs. It starts to stimulate circulation, it wakes the body up. Again, not a huge shift, but an invitation to waking up that then will prime the body for rest later on. We don't want to do huge, big exercise right before bed because, well, as we just noticed, even a little bit energizes us. So we want to do things that are going to be more quieting before bed. So moving the body throughout the day is one of the first things you can do to support your sleep at night. Food. What you ingest affects how you rest. Let me repeat this with me. What you ingest affects how you rest. Super important, and it rhymes, which is kind of fun. Ideally, we want to minimize caffeine, particularly after 12 o'clock. And I know I usually get a lot of grumbles when I say that, but part of it is caffeine, particularly in coffee, it wakes us up very quickly, and its half-life, it's metabolized after 10 hours. So if you're drinking coffee at noon, good chance that at 10 p.m. you're still digesting and metabolizing that. It's still hanging out in your system to a certain degree. You can still fall asleep, but it will affect the quality of your sleep. So the sleep may happen, but the quality will not be the same. So ideally, we're going to minimize caffeine or eliminate it in the afternoon. See how it works for you. See if you can pare that down just a little bit. That includes things like chocolates, like big, rich chocolates. Wonderful. Have them early in the day. Have them with lunch. Cut them out in the late afternoon. Eat a light dinner before 6 p.m. So it's really interesting if we think about the cycles of the day and the cycles of us as people. Pre-industrial revolution, we had lunch and we had supper. Supper was a supplement. It was a light supplement to carry us over till morning. It was typically meant soup, right? We had soup. Then Industrial Revolution comes around, which is awesome. It gave us lots of things, all the way up to the current iPhone and all the things, right? And it also did a number on our sleep. Because what we started doing was taking packed lunches that became really light and started having really heavy meals before bed. This is a little problematic. It's problematic because the intention of food is to energize the body for activity, which at night we're not doing. So we're taking this heavy meal that requires a ton of energy to digest, and then we're going to bed. And where does all our energy go? Our energy goes into trying to break down and synthesize that meal instead of doing all the detoxing and all the other good stuff that we need to do in our sleep. So our energy is not being utilized in the most effective way. This shift in food, shifting to the bigger meal, midday, lighter meal in the evening, is one of the single most powerful and effective things you can do to support sleep, to support the body for sleep. And it is one of the things that surprises people the most. I know it surprised me. But when we're able to have a very light meal and go to bed on an empty stomach, we tend to fall asleep better and have a more quality sleep during the night because our body is not trying to digest food and convert something into energy that's then not being used. It actually allows us to do the cellular repair that we need to do during sleep. So the short list, there's always a no list. You guys, I'm sure, have heard these enough, especially if sleep is an issue. But no screen time, no stimulants, no alcohol, no naps after 3, no working, studying before sleep. All these things, what would you say is the common theme in all of these? They activate. Yeah, they activate. They're engaging us in some way. The screen time activates us. The stimulus of caffeine, nicotine, they activate the nervous system. Alcohol, it also activates us in a very different way. It activates our metabolism. It dulls the mind, but it actually activates our system. Eating right before sleep activates. Napping after 3 gives us a surge of energy. Working, studying before sleep really stimulates the mind. If spinning thoughts are a big factor for you, working right before sleep, within an hour or so before sleep, is going to affect your ability to fall asleep quickly. So, again, what helps? So we talked a little bit about the daytime stuff, right? The daytime stuff, moving a little bit more during the day, being a little bit mindful of what we intake. At night, there's some very specific things we want to start paying attention to, and that's attuning to the body and quieting and grounding. What we're really wanting to do here is invite some ease and kindness and tenderness into our nervous systems. We live in a community and a culture in a world that is very stimulating. Our nervous systems are activated all the time. We have input coming in through all our senses non-stop. Right now, you're getting inundated by visuals, by me, by all the things. Input, input, input. What we want to do is pause and just notice what's going on with the body. We need to learn how to, or remember how to, honor our fatigue. When we pause and notice how we're feeling, and really notice when the body's communicating to us, we can respond more effectively. We can say, now's a good time for me to lie down. The body communicates with us all the time. And it does. Heaviness in the limbs tells us we're tired. When the eyelids get heavy, tells us we're tired. When our focus gets a little wandering and it's hard to really hone in on something, it tells us we're tired. When our body temperature drops, we start cooling down. It's that invitation to grab a blanket. We're tired. This is the time to say, gonna go to bed, instead of, I'm gonna go watch Netflix. We want to honor the fatigue in the body. Notice what the body is saying, and when possible, say, yes, I'm gonna rest. And if we can't fully go to sleep because of things like kids or other responsibilities that are happening, we can take a pause. We can invite a very intentional pause to honor the fatigue and say, yes, body, I hear you. I recognize that you're tired. We need to honor the body instead of constantly trying to push and push and push. Our bedroom, our sleeping space, ideally will be more of a sanctuary. It's a space where our body and our nervous system can go to and say, yeah, this is where I go to rest. Instead of a space of stress and anxiety of, I'm going to sit here and stare at the clock. If that's what's the relationship that you're having in bed, we want to start shifting that. If you're not falling asleep, we get up. And then we come back when the body communicates that we're tired. We want to create an inviting space for sleep. Slightly cooler temperatures. Again, the body temperature drops, we can get cozy with a blanket. There's something really powerful about a blanket. You guys all heard about the weighted blankets? Does anyone have one? Yeah, they're lovely. There's a reason why they're effective. When we cover ourselves with a blanket, when we cover our whole front, this is our heart space. There's a vulnerability here. So one, emotionally, energetically, we're protecting ourselves. Two, that little bit of weight, it presses here, presses on the sternum, which activates the thymus, which signals to our nervous system that it's time to soften. It helps us ease into the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest, sometimes called the tend and befriend system in the body. So blankets, they invite comfort. Taking electronics out of the bedroom. You don't need your TV in there. You don't need a lot of extra stuff, the laptop right on the bed. If we can, take those out. Cover the clock. If you have a digital clock, cover it. I actually have a very old glove that sits over the clock, over the digital feature of my clock, so I never see the numbers. I don't need to see them. I know when I go to bed, I know when I get up, but the light activates the mind. I had a teacher once who said about 10 years ago, I remember very clearly, she said, the two of the most sacred and special things in the world are disappearing, and that's silence and darkness. Silence and darkness. Those are two things that we need for sleep. And if we have a room full of electronics, we know there's a light buzz that stimulates. It engages the body and the nervous system. The lights, the dull light of the digital clock stimulates, it activates the mind on subtle levels. The more of that we can remove from our space of sleep, the more our body's going to respond to that. Minimal light, turning the clock away, little things, anything you can do to create a space where your body and your nervous system are going to go, this is for me. This is to hold me. This is a space that feels safe. Once we're there, this is what happens. Has anyone had this? You get quiet and suddenly you're like, all the thoughts are happening. All the things are happening. We have roughly 65,000 thoughts in a day. I've seen this number estimated as up to 86,000. So that's a lot, even on the low end. This is a lot of thoughts. And what happens is when we get quiet and we lay down to go to sleep, we're suddenly aware of them, sometimes for the very first time. Because throughout the day, we're distracted by all the things. We're not noticing that they're happening. And we lay down and we get quiet, and suddenly they're all there. So this idea of meditation, and when I talk about meditation in this context for sleep, I'm not saying that you have to go and sit in the perfect corner and do a perfect meditation practice, but I am inviting you to spend a few moments in silence throughout the day, because you will then have the experience of noticing that after 3 to 7 minutes, 3 to 7 minutes, magic number, they start to soften. And you can survive 3 to 7 minutes of racing thoughts. We all can. The more we practice having this experience of just being in silence with our thoughts, like we did with that gentle ah at the beginning today, the less frightening and overwhelming that period of initially closing our eyes at night can be. We are not a light switch. You are not a light switch. Your mind is not a light switch. Your body is not a light switch. We need to transition from action to rest. We need to allow a transition space for those thoughts to soften, for the body to soften. So we need a winding down practice. Ideally, it's an hour or so before bed, and that can look as simple as just starting to dim the lights. We're going to start to soften the music, soften the volume on the things. You don't have to do big changes, but just start softening things a little bit to start creating a little bit of space and a rhythm that your nervous system can get used to. That your nervous system can say, yes, this is when I go to sleep, and yes, this is when I wake up. This is what my body does. Creating a structure and a routine that we can lean into. Shutting things down. Again, these are simple practices that you can start to weave in. And we're going to do a few now. So there's a couple of breath practices that I'm going to share. Are any of you familiar with the box breath? Has anyone done this? I see a couple hands. Awesome. Okay, and the left nostril breathing. Anyone practice this one? Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate the left nostril breath, and we're going to do this together in a little bit with a sequence of things. But for this practice, you have two options. You can either bring your hands into a peace symbol and press those two fingers together right at your forehead, or you can tuck those same two fingers into your palm. Either one, whatever's most comfortable in your hand. You just need your ring finger and your thumb available of your right hand. And you're going to take those on either side of the nose, just where the cartilage ends. And we're going to gently press the thumb into the right side of the nose, sort of softly closing that right nostril, and then inhale through the left. And then press that ring finger on the left nostril, opening the right, and exhale. Pressing the right down, opening the left, inhale. Switch, exhale out the right. Just continue doing this at your own rhythm. Ideally, allowing the inhale and exhale to be the same length. So 3 is to 3, or 4 is to 4. So noticing how the body responds. And the next time that you exhale out the right, releasing the hand. Breathing in through both nostrils. Exhale softly. So this is a real subtle and intentional breath that activates that parasympathetic nervous system. It softens and allows the body to enter into a state of rest. We can do this for 3 to 5 minutes. So anytime that you're starting to feel that agitation or that restlessness, that is one breath that you can do. The paced breath is an inhale for 4, a holding for a count of 6, exhaling for 8, hold for 2. This one, if you have asthma or any difficulty breathing, can be really challenging. So I'd invite you to hold off on that one if there's any kind of respiratory issues. And same with the box breath, which is just 4 counts. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Self-massage is a very simple practice that we can do before bed. You can do this with oil, with lotion. Ideally, you just move into the hands, so pressing into the center of the hands. And just pressing. And as we do this, this starts to release some tension in the muscles in the hands, which moves down into the arms. And then we also do this with the feet before bed. And you can also add a drop of oil right here at the very top of the head. And this idea of putting oil on, oil is you don't need a lot, but it's warming. And it really calms the body, it grounds the body. It's a natural substance, so the body invites it, it soaks it in. Adding essential oils like lavender, vetiver, cedarwood, these are ones that are supportive aromatherapy. You can add to that very easily. So again, these are just simple things you can do to help transition the body. Instead of saying, hey, let's do something stimulating, we're saying, hey, body, I see you, I hear you, I care for you. And we start offering a gentle massage. The next thing we do, press one hand on the heart and one on the abdomen. If the hand on the abdomen doesn't feel great, you can do both on the heart. But one on each part of the body here. When we hold this posture for 3 to 7 minutes, again, here's this magic number, 3 to 7. The body receives this as an embrace. And we get a boost of oxytocin in the brain. Oxytocin is a wonderful hormone that lets us know that we're cared for, that we're safe, that we're loved. When we can offer this to ourselves, again, this takes that edginess off, that softens the nervous system and allows us to know that we're safe, that we're okay. And we can extend those exhales like we did at the very beginning. Our first breath today was that ah, right? That sound that we make, it vibrates and massages the vagus nerve that goes all the way down the spine through the whole body, allows the whole body to soften again. So we're going to bring all of these things together in just a moment. Restorative yoga, these are fun postures. You don't have to do like a whole big sequence, but lying down with your legs up the wall, whether you do this on the floor or you do this in the bed with your legs up the headboard, that works just as well. Or child's pose. These again are postures that allow the nervous system to say, I'm resting. So we can invite these in. We're not going to be able to do this practice here today. If you really, really want to, we can kind of pretend. We have a couple spots up here for legs up the wall if people really wanted. But you get to play with these, invite these in. These are nice transitions to say I'm moving from an active part of my day into a resting part of my day, an intentionality, cueing the body for rest. And Yoga Nidra, which we're going to do in a moment as well, which is a guided practice that is designed to move us into sleep. Yoga Nidra is not a movement practice, it's a guided practice of sleep. It's a practice that brings us into a state of deep, deep, deep rest with the intention of guiding us into a state of delta wave states, which is where all that great stuff that we do in sleep happens there, in that delta state. So Yoga Nidra has the intention of bringing us there. And there's a lot of guided practices, which I will share some resources where you can find that. But right now, we're going to do a little practice together to weave things in. So I would love to invite the lights to dim, if we can. And we're just going to go through a little sequence of things. We're not going to do legs up the wall unless you're watching this recording. And if you're watching this recording, I invite you to go ahead and hit pause and go ahead and put your legs up the wall at some point if that feels welcome to you. If not, feel free to skip it. All things are optional. Always listen to your body and honor your body first and foremost. So to begin, I'll invite you all to just start shaking your arms. Shake, 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 shake. Because sometimes we just need to release a lot of the nervous tension that's been building up in the body throughout the day. If you feel like stomping your feet a little, go ahead. Now inhale, bring the arms way up overhead. Exhale, bring them down. Do 2 more like that. Bring the arms way up on the inhale. Exhale, sigh it down. 1 more. Now rolling the shoulders. Inhale, up, back, down. Allowing these movements to be as big and slow as you can. Just moving the shoulders more slowly than you think you could. And bringing the hands together and just start squeezing one hand and then the other. You might softly massage the hand. And as you do so, you might just notice your hands and think like, hey, you've done a lot today. You've held things, you've gestured, you've typed, you've written. You might gently move the fingers, pulling softly on each one, massaging the webbing between each finger. Just acknowledging kind of the magic of the hands that you have. And if they're sore or they hurt, you might just say, oh, I see you, I notice you. Thank you for all that you've done today. And rubbing them together, letting them get nice and warm. Placing one hand on the heart and the other on top of that, and just pause there for a moment. Just feel the warmth of your hands. Now you have the option of either the left nostril breath or the box breathing, the 4-4-4. If you choose to do the box breathing, I invite you to keep your hands right where they are. If you choose to do the left nostril breathing, I invite you to keep the left hand right there at the heart and bring the right hand up. And we'll inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Continuing to breathe at your own pace, your own rhythm, with either the left nostril focus or the box. And when you've completed the next cycle, go ahead and taking a breath through both nostrils and exhaling with a big sigh. And placing one hand on the heart and one on the belly. Just holding here for a moment. You might gently call your name to yourself, just hearing your own name in your mind. You might say, I see you. Right now, all is well. You're okay. I see you. I'm here for you. I love you. Feeling the warmth of your hand on your heart as you call your name to yourself. I see you. I'm here for you. I love you. I've got you. I've got you. And then if it feels welcome, going ahead and closing the eyes. You might start by setting this gentle affirmation that you're inviting a practice of rest right now. An affirmation that says, yes, right now I'm welcoming an experience of rest. As you invite a sense of ease to wash over you. Just welcoming the sounds of the environment around you. The sounds off in the distance. Perhaps the sounds closer to you. Maybe the sound of your own breath. You might notice the sensations in the body and welcoming them all. Just welcoming the sensation of the air as it touches the skin. And the sensation of the body touching the surface beneath and behind you. Just feeling fully supported. The whole body softening and supported. And you might notice the sensation of the abdomen, just softening and releasing with each exhale. You might even imagine that the breath, as it comes in through the nose, travels up the spine. And as you exhale, the breath moves from the top of the head down to the base of the spine. Inhaling base of spine to the top of the head. Exhale, top of the head to the base of the spine. You might imagine the breath flowing in this very gentle stream up and down the length of the spine. Top to bottom and bottom to top. Each breath is soft and long, fluid and steady. You might now just begin to become aware of the jaw and softening through the jaw, the mouth, the tongue, both ears, cheeks, nostrils, eyes, both eyes softening at the same time. Softening through the forehead, scalp, back of the head, and the neck. Just welcoming the sensations of both shoulders and arms at the same time as they soften. Just aware of both hands and the entire torso, chest and belly, upper and lower back, inside and surface sensations of the whole torso. The sensations of the pelvis and the hips and both legs, both feet. Just welcoming your whole body. The whole body is a field of sensation in this moment. Just sensing into the front and the back of the body at the same time. Left side, right side, the whole body. The whole body softening, welcomed exactly as it is. Just welcoming the sensation of joy in the heart. As you let the physical eyes soften a little bit more. And feeling the sensation of joy in the heart. And again, welcoming the sensation of the whole body. Front of the body, back of the body, left side, right side, whole body, jaw, mouth, ears, cheeks, nose, eyes, forehead, scalp, neck, shoulders, arms, hands, the entire body, the whole body, front and back. Just sensation. The whole body at ease. Just feeling. Just noticing. Just sensation. Whole body. Easeful. Welcomed. And deepening the breath. And then gently bringing the index finger to the thumb tip. Center finger to thumb. Ring finger to thumb. Little finger to thumb. Inhale, bringing all the fingers into a nice tight fist, and exhale, opening the fingers out wide. Doing that 2 more times. Inhale, drawing the hands in. Exhale, sigh it out. You might gently shake the hands. 1 more big breath in. Now just noticing what's different in that short practice. And can you imagine what that might look like and how that might affect the quality of your sleep if you were to do that prior to sleep? So that is a miniature version of the practice of Yoga Nidra. And the key takeaways from today that I would love for you to walk away with today is that you're not a light switch. Please honor your body. Give yourself space to transition into sleep. We can't go from just actively doing something to lying down and expect ourselves to fall asleep. It's unkind to our nervous system. It's unfair to the body. And it's not fair to you. We get to move the body a little bit. Fast before sleep, if that's available to you, if you want to experiment with that. Invite moments of rest throughout the day. That moment that we started with, that if you do that twice a day, throughout the day, and just check in with yourself, you're giving yourself an opportunity to check in with your body and say, I care and want to know how you're feeling. Tell that to your body. Check in with yourself. Invite that little bit of rest. Create some conditions for sleep in the environment around you and within your own body, and gently wind down. And yes, there's an app for that. Insight Timer is a great app. There's a million of them out there. This is one that I happen to have a lot of practices on, including several sleep meditations, and they're free. So it's a free app with free meditations, and there's a bunch of other people on there too, so if you don't want to listen to my voice, there are about 30,000 teachers on there or more, so somebody's voice will resonate with you. I guarantee it. So I encourage you to check out this. Here are some other apps that are also great that will support sleep practices, sleep meditations, and tuning into your sleep. So if these are things that you're interested in, I definitely would recommend that. Again, if you're using apps to sleep, make sure that when you're done, you set them down and so that the light of the phone is not in front of you. Keep them on dark mode, keep them dim, and set them down.